homes. The three of us have, along with our husbands, have all, gone through the process. Mind you, none of us can say we're experts on the whole thing, but we've all just gone through this. So this is really just sharing our experiences and hoping that, us talking about it can maybe help some of you through some problems or, answer some questions that you may have. So for the last week, we've all been asking all of you lovely readers for questions. And today, all three of us are going to be answering those questions. We've obviously all had very different experiences. We live in different parts of the country. We were looking for different things in houses. So we're all excited to see kind of the differences in our experiences. And hopefully, again, we can help some of you out if any of you have questions. So the first question we got was, how did you know when to start looking? For us, it was really about making sure we had enough money for the down payment. Luckily for us, the prices of homes in Cleveland are very good right now. So we knew that our mortgage payment would actually be less than our rent. A lot of our friends who have recently purchased homes, their mortgage payments are some of them are significantly less than what we pay in rent. So we knew for us it was just going to be a matter of making sure we had enough money saved up for a down payment. And a lot of that was about knowing what our budget was, which leads me to the next question, which is, how did you figure out your budget to make sure you could afford a house? So for us, again, it was making sure we had enough for a down payment. So we kind of looked at, I stalked Zillow and Realtor.com for months to kind of get a general idea of what homes were in the area, what we could expect to find in various price ranges. And based on those price ranges, we were able to figure out what we thought we needed to put down in a down payment, and then also kind of what our mortgage payment would be. Additionally, we started to use Mint.com to really crack down on our budget, see where we were spending money, see where we could be saving money, kind of see where we were overspending. If you don't use Mint, it's a great tool. Sometimes the best thing is to just be aware of what you're spending money on. When we realized how much money we'd been spending on like eating out and stuff like that, we really cracked down on that and have been able to save a lot of money. So we kind of started doing all that back in probably October, November. Our lease is up in April, so we knew we wanted to start looking around January, February, and that's what happened. And we realized we were in a good financial situation to do this without breaking the bank and spending all our savings. So that's when we started to look. The next question is, how did we find our realtor? For us, it was pretty easy. We asked around, asked some friends, see if anybody knew anyone. And luckily for us, our friend, a really good friend of ours, her mother is a realtor. So I had met her a few times. I really liked her. So I set up a meeting with myself, her, and my husband, Doug. And Doug really liked her. The nice thing about our realtor is, because we are good friends of her children, or, her daughter and her daughter's husband, we always felt that she was looking out for us like she would for her own kids. It's been great to have someone we trust to walk us through the process. I have no problem texting her at random hours of the day to ask questions. She's just been great and very supportive through the whole process. That's kind of, I highly suggest you find that in a realtor. Find someone you trust. Find someone that makes you feel comfortable, because this person, is helping you with a very big purchase. Very big purchase. So again, make sure it's someone that you trust and someone you feel comfortable with. The next question: what is essential to ask when touring or viewing a property? For us, going into it, we decided what was important to us, and those, top 5 things, we stuck to those. If a house didn't have them, then that house wasn't it. Actually, we only looked at 4 houses, so I know some of you are going to be angry at me for saying this, because I know there's so many people who have looked at 20 houses, 40 houses, 60 houses, even more, and we just kind of lucked out. Again, I think part of that was we had a great realtor. When we told her what we were looking for, she was able to really narrow down the houses that we actually looked at. So for us, what was really important was the location, making sure it was centrally located between Doug's work and my work, which thankfully my new job is pretty close to my old job, so that didn't change anything. to have a fenced-in yard, a patio or back deck, which has both of these, which is great because we can get a dog soon. Really important to me was to have a gas stove. I hate cooking on electric. I absolutely refuse to do it. So either having a gas stove or having a gas stove hookup was very important, and thankfully this house has it. And then another thing we realized, and we didn't realize this until after we'd started to look, was that a dining room was very important to us. We looked at a house with no dining room. It just had a very small eat-in kitchen. It just wasn't going to cut it for me. We have a huge, 6-person table. We like to have friends, so we like to have my family over. So we needed to have that space for a dining room. So that was important. Also, though, when you're, looking at houses, don't put too much stake in things that aren't necessarily super important. For me, yes, a gas stove was important, but I could have cared less, to have stainless steel appliances or granite countertops. Finding those in a house in our price range in the area we were looking was pretty unlikely, so I didn't want to set myself up with unrealistic expectations. I needed to know what was important to us. It was the 3 bedrooms, the bath and a half, a 2-car garage, which is very important after this crap winter we've had in Cleveland. But some of those smaller cosmetic things, those weren't the top priorities for us because we knew that we wouldn't be able to find that. And also, granite countertops aren't going to make me the happiest person in the world. Sure, they look fantastic, but I can live without them, and I will, because this house isn't our forever house. It's probably only going to be, we're planning to live here for 10 years or so. The next question is, what's the biggest tip for house hunting you took away from the whole process? This is something we talked about before we'd even gone, started meeting with people after watching, lots of house hunters, was that it seemed like a lot of people really pushed their budget. For us, we had kind of an idea of what we felt comfortable with. When we met with a lender to get, pre-approved for a mortgage, he pre-approved us for significantly more than what we were comfortable spending. The thing with mortgage companies is they don't think about the fact that you need to buy groceries, you want to save for vacations, you like to go out to dinner, you want to put money in college funds for your future children, and so on and so on and so on. They really just look at, your money, your current debts, and what after that you can afford, but they don't think about your lifestyle or anything like that. And we wanted to maintain our lifestyle. We didn't, want to be putting everything into the house. So that's really my biggest tip for house hunting. Take that pre-approval amount with a grain of salt. Don't live and die by it. Figure out what you feel comfortable with. There's tons of mortgage calculators, so you can put in a certain amount and see what your down payment would be and really budget around that and make sure that you can maintain the lifestyle that you want. And that's very much what we did. So even though we were pre-approved for way more than what we actually spent, we only spent what we were comfortable spending. The next question was, how much down payment did you put down and what kind of loan did you get? When we went into the whole process, we really thought we were going to have to do an FHA loan, which meant we had to put 3.5% down. And we thought that's all we would, what we could afford, so that's what we had to do. When we first met with the lender, he actually told us we can do a conventional mortgage to put 5% down. The difference between the two is with FHA, you have private mortgage insurance, which will last for the entire life of the loan. So it's a 30-year loan, and the PMI is $50 per payment, but you'll be paying that $50 per payment for 30 years. With the conventional, which is the 5% down, you do have PMI, but it will only stay on the loan until you get 20% equity, which we're planning to hopefully make larger mortgage payments than are necessary. So we'll get to that 20% equity sooner, and can drop that private mortgage insurance payment, which again, it's only like $40 or $50 a month, so it's really not a big deal. But the conventional was definitely a better way to go, and we're happy that we were able to do that with only 5%. The next thing is, there a list of necessary questions we should ask about mortgages. I'm a little ashamed to say this, but I'm not as knowledgeable about mortgages as I should be, considering that I just bought a house with my husband. Thankfully, he was very interested in it and very curious and wanted to learn about it. I'll actually post a link below, but it's called Khan Academy. They have a ton of videos about mortgages and, everything about buying a house. And, he watched a lot of those and shared those things with me so that we felt like we were in a good position. So in terms of, is there a list of necessary questions? Not really, but make sure you ask questions. You're signing your name 9,000 times. Before you sign your name, know what you're signing. No one's going to think you're asking stupid questions because I'm sure they've heard it all before. Before I signed my name, I would ask until I understood what I was signing and what they were telling me. So that's my thing, is don't be scared to ask questions. If you do want to do some research, as I said, I'll post that link below. Doug said it was a great tool, a great resource, to learn more information. So he felt much more comfortable going into the process than I did, which was nice because then at least he was side by side with me, and I know if he felt comfortable signing something, so did I. But again, ask questions. It's never a stupid question. It's a good thing to do. The next questions are all about after you actually, put your offer in on the house, and kind of then what are the next steps. So it was the home inspection. Like, for us, again, thankfully, we really lucked out. We had a great home inspector. He was referred to us by our realtor, who her and her husband flip homes, so I think they use him for their own purposes also. He was very knowledgeable. He spent about 2.5 hours going all over the house, looking at everything, testing the stove, everything, and answering any questions we had, really walking us through, pointing out anything that would be an issue. For us, again, we lucked out. The only issue we had was with the electric box, so we were able to ask the sellers to fix that, and they did. The thing with home inspection is it happens after your offer is accepted, but not before you close. So a lot of the time you can, closing on the house can actually fully depend on if the home passes inspection or if there's issues that are too big. You can ask the seller to fix things. Sometimes they agree, sometimes they don't. Thankfully for us, they did. So for us, it wasn't too bad. Again, it's another time to ask questions, ask lots of questions, make sure you know what's going on. Any tips on how not to freak out freak out the entire time? I don't have good tips on this because I was kind of a mess. Part of that was because I was also in the process of applying for new jobs and actually getting a new job. So that on top of the house was a bit of a mess. Thankfully, my husband is a very calm person, so he was able to, keep me at ease and keep me calm during the whole thing. Next question is if we had any moving tips. First of all, help all your friends move, and then you have favors to call in. We have had so many people offer to help us because we've all also, have also helped them move in the past. Also, give yourself as much time as you can. For us, our lease isn't up until, halfway through April, but we're closing next week, so that gives us about a month to move everything and move things slowly and get anything done in the house that we want to get done before we move all the furniture in there. Also, since I just got a new job, I'm not really able to take days off. And so it's just nice to have lots of weekends, lots of evenings that we can take care of everything. Then in regards to renovation, how do you decide what things to do yourself and what not to do? I think I'll let Kate and Amber answer this a lot more than I can because I know that the two of them are doing a lot more renovations. But all we're really doing, we're planning to refinish a few floors and do a lot of painting. The painting, obviously, I have no problem doing myself. I just have to choose paint colors, which has been like the biggest life struggle ever. And in terms of the floors, we're planning to do them ourselves. We'd rather, try something new. My parents did their floors about 30 years ago, so they're going to help us. But that's just things that we're excited to learn how to do in our new house. So thankfully for us, there weren't any huge renovations. There's things down the road we'd like to do before we actually move in. It was a very move-in ready house. So to wrap it up, what's the biggest tip for house hunting you took away from the whole process? Sorry, my computer fell asleep for a minute and I didn't realize that was going to happen. Anyway, the question, what's the biggest tip for house hunting you took away from the whole process? Doug's suggestion, which I didn't listen to, was to not fall in love with one house. So often, you see people who fall in love with, just fall in love with a house and they decide they can't live without that house, but then something falls through. As I said, I'm guilty of this because I fell in love with our house before we even looked at it. It very easily could have happened that when we finally did get to see our house, I hated it for some reason or another. Again, I lucked out. I fell in love with the house and we were able to buy that house. But I think it made the whole process a lot more nerve-wracking because since I invested so much into that house, I just knew I was going to be heartbroken if something happened. So try to not do that. That's a really, good advice. And another big good tip is talk to, if you're buying a house with your husband or your significant other, talk to them. Having really good open communication about what you want in a house, what you're interested in, will definitely make the process a lot easier. And then the last part is, what parts of the buying process made you the most nervous? It's probably the offer stage, when we first put the offer in on the house and we were waiting to hear back from them. I think I was texting our realtor about every 5 minutes saying, have you heard yet? Have you heard yet? Have you heard yet? Just because that's really nerve-wracking. And ours only took about 3 days to, we put the offer in, they countered, we countered, they accepted, we signed all the paperwork, we were done. But those, 2-3 days was super stressful. You're just waiting. It's just a lot of waiting and waiting and waiting. So really in the beginning it was a lot of hurry up. And, we were doing everything and everything was going really fast. We looked at the house, we did the offer, we did the inspection, all that. And then we've been sitting now for 3 weeks, just waiting to close on the house. So the whole waiting, just waiting in general, is probably the most nerve-wracking part. Anyway, this is going on to almost 20 minutes, and I would be shocked if anyone's still watching. But I recorded this about 19 times, and for some reason my last round was the most long-winded, but it's the only time that it's fully recorded. So thank you all. I hope you're still watching, or if you're not, well, too bad. But I hope I answered any questions you may have. If you have any more questions for either myself or Doug, please either email me or comment below, and I'll make sure that we get those answered for you. So thank you guys so much. Thanks Kate and Amber for coming up with such an awesome idea, and I hope we were able to answer some first-time home buyer questions and help some of you make your decision. So anyway, thank you guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.